full.
We are Movie Menu Reviews, your interactive podcast. Press your screen to say Happy New Year or Merry Christmas.
Or die.
Or smash your computer. Yes.
On today's menu, we'll be reviewing 4 films, Vice, Roma, Birdbox, and Black Mirror Bandersnatch.
Yes.
Welcome, ladies and gents. I'm Dan the Man Muñoz, host of Movie Menu Reviews, your weekly movie news and reviews podcast, live on Facebook. Thank you for joining us. Or if you're listening to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your podcast, thank you for tuning in on this final episode of 2018.
Yeah,
and
we have made it to the end of the year.
We did it. Actually, not the final review episode.
Final review episode.
Well, by the time people receive this, though, they will be getting it on the 1st of January.
Yeah.
So, Happy New Year if you're listening to it everywhere else.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
If you're watching this live on Facebook, then you know that we're still in 2018.
Yes.
and we're in 2016.
but if we are talking to the future, fix it.
Yes.
There's a problem. Something has gone wrong.
There's a portal.
There's a portal that opens up, and
okay, guys, we're gonna get there soon.
Okay.
You're jumping ahead to the future.
Sorry.
You're gonna go back to the past.
Back to the present.
Or to the present, I
there
guess.
we go.
Yeah. Okay.
So joining me today is our co-host and senior panelist, Z.
Yes. Hello.
Thank you for being on the show.
You're welcome.
And also here is someone way from the past. Is my co-host Mike Stan. He's living in the past always.
Always
Thank
living
you,
in the past.
Thank you. Yeah, that's. I'm behind. I'm always about five years behind. It's like, hey guys, have you heard of Periscope?
That's true.
Like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But thank you for pointing it out to us.
I wish we had that recorded. Us talking to Mike about Periscope and how he's behind the times.
Yes.
It's not a new thing.
I just got a PlayStation 1.
He literally does. Like the box is right there.
Yeah, it's a mint condition, and no one's gonna buy it.
I'm updating my technology.
Did you guys hear about this cool thing called DVDs? Looks way better than VHS.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that note, speaking of the past, let's go ahead and talk about the first movie we are going to review, which is Vice. Now, all 3 of us have seen this film.
That's not true.
Z
I have
did
not seen this
Oh, you
film.
have not seen this film.
Yes.
So then, do you want to introduce?
I will introduce the movie. Here we go. The movie we're reviewing is Vice. Written and directed by Adam McKay. Here's the plot. The story of Dick Cheney, an unassuming bureaucratic Washington insider who quietly wielded immense power as vice president to George W. Bush, reshaping the country and the globe in ways that we still feel today. Starring Christian Bale, Amy Adams, Steve Carell, and Sam Rockwell. I'm assuming there's others in this cast. It looks like a huge cast.
That's the
gist.
That's the main cast.
That's the main cast. I agree.
All right. So again, for those listening and viewing, whoever, depending on your spoiler-free review, I'm going to decide whether or not this movie's dine in, go watch it in theaters, a takeout, wait to watch it at home, or a leftovers. What should we do leftovers?
Get shot in the face with a shotgun.
Yes, get shot by Dick Cheney'd. That's actually that's the term. Get Dick Cheney'd.
Dick
That's
Cheney,
not a term that should be a term.
I mean, it shouldn't. However,
it is.
It is a term of endearment. Getting shotgun in the face by a dick. All right. So because I haven't seen this movie, I will award a reward, and that reward will be 1 point.
Okay.
However, you two do not earn points. It will be donated to whomever you guys wish. Yep. Okay. So, are you guys ready to go?
Ready
Mike,
to go. Yeah.
Ready.
Rate this film.
It's a very faint takeout.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like very low, like close to leftovers.
Close, but not
That's
quite,
what I was worried about. Dan, what about you?
That's really surprising. It's a dine-in.
Really?
It's for you to dine in.
Yeah.
Is it dine-in for you, Dan?
This is Adam McKay at his best.
Well,
So if you enjoyed The Big Short, which is a very dense film, this film doesn't disappoint in that sense because it's very dense as well.
Okay.
But he uses different styles to tell this story, which makes it hilarious. Like, you remember in The Big Short where Margot Robbie appears out of nowhere
Yes,
in the back.
I
So
do.
there's moments like that,
Okay.
like fun toss-in moments to go ahead and explain certain stuff in history. And it's almost like a farce. Like, realistically, a lot of people are laughable about Dick Cheney and what he did in office.
So is this similar to W? Like in the
No, because this is not.
It's not a biopic.
It's not. It's not really a biopic.
Okay.
It's more like it's. They say it's based on a true story, and then they're like, "Well, it's the best we can do because this guy was really secretive." So,
Gotcha.
we did the best we could. So fuck it.
Yeah, I feel like
Literally in the opening, it says like "fuck it" or something.
Does it really?
Yeah.
It just goes fuck it. We're just gonna figure this out.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, for somebody who lived through the times, this is a movie that kind of touches a lot of feelings. But yeah, tell me what the story is about. So it's Dick Cheney in the White House.
No,
Or
it's Dick Cheney's life, basically.
Okay.
From where he started in college all the way to vice presidency, and a little bit afterwards. So you learn through this film, but I'm not taking it as it's accurately information, accurately accurate at all. For me, it seemed like it's just a farce of this guy who was like he didn't talk a lot. He was very quiet. And they built the story around him on this.
Mike, well, what about the story didn't work for you?
So it feels like there's like there were a couple of different ways of trying to explain this film, and I feel like none of them, if they would have just chose one and went all the way, I felt like they were shoving different.
Like there was like several stories.
Yeah,
in one?
yeah. So you got the element where it's kind of like a. Kind of like a biopic, but not really. And then you got this like other you got a narrator, and it's narration. It's almost kind of like an Adam ruins everything type narration.
Interesting.
And it's kind of strange. Like, and I get what they were trying to do, but every time it would come in, it just
you just hate narrators.
But rightly so though. Some narrators are just. I mean, what was it? I forget which movie it was, but it was one of the really funny ones, which said the narrators. Narration or voiceover is just a lazy way for a writer to get a point across.
Yeah, so it felt like they used the narration.
Well, this film is very meta, and even so much that the narrator even like points that out.
The narrator is actually like a character in the film as well.
Who's the narrator?
That you don't like. They tie it in later. It's a spoiler to say who it is.
Okay,
but it isn't like a big political figure or anything.
Okay.
But it would be a small spoiler to mention it.
It's his daughter.
No.
Okay. Daughters? He had two daughters.
No, it was a male narrator. Okay. But in the daughter, the daughters, it was the daughter. No, it wasn't. They do actually have a small subplot of the daughters,
which is great.
Well, yeah, because I know that that's one of like the modern things we've learned about Dick Cheney is that he does really care a lot about his daughters.
It kind of. I mean, he does, but it kind of. I guess like in most, so there's like I feel like it's almost an anti arc in the film where the character like typically
instead of getting better he gets worse.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty much. Okay. So there's an anti arc in this where.
But did the humor work for you? Because obviously Adam McKay's he does humor.
It's funny. I mean, there are funny moments that are in there, but for me, I felt like the film was kind of a mess.
Okay.
So yeah. But there are funny moments that pop in and out, but as far as like as far as experiencing it from beginning to end, like what makes it so difficult too is the fact that it's so dense.
Did you say it was a miss or a mess?
A mess.
MESS.
Really, because it's really easy for me. It was really easy to follow through the storyline, and it was for me. The main characters are the four. and those are who we follow, and it doesn't veer off so much. Maybe the daughter's a little bit, that's the plot. The narrator so much also, but it's mainly just the 4 characters that are the focus in this film, and Christian Bale himself is the main focus.
Well, yeah.
So I don't feel like it was too much of a mess to follow through. I just think the way that Adam McKay put in his humor in there, it's very farce and it's very outlandish. And the point where it's like the narrator is literally talking about Dick Cheney where he's brushing his teeth, and he's like, well, we don't know what he's thinking. This isn't a Shakespearean play where they go in soliloquies, and then bam, the next scene is they're doing Shakespeare soliloquies, and it's hilarious that they did that. It's just so funny that they go into there. It's very like take it for what it is as you're watching it, and don't. That's what I did.
How was the pacing? Because I obviously between the two of you guys are giving me different stories here, but like, how does the pacing feel? Because it seems like a mess, but it seems kind of
to continue on. So it's like almost a biopic. It's almost an Adams ruins everything type
episode,
and then it's almost a documentary. And it feels like throughout it like that is where it is a mess.
I don't think it's it's not a documentary at all. It's a biopic maybe, but not a documentary.
Like almost like Michael Moore-ish. Where
they recreate the footage. They don't use footage ever.
That's what a documentary would be.
So
So docudrama, probably a better description.
Yeah. But I feel like it's kind of formatted in that way. But I feel, and I'm not saying that it's a mess in terms of story or that it's difficult to follow. I mean in terms of it being a mess in terms of how to picking how to give the story. Okay. So you're basically pulled all these different directions, or basically I was when I watched it. But not that I was lost or anything. I understood what was happening. But as far as like it just following along from it's just like there's just a bunch of information.
Got it. Okay.
And
which is similar to The Big Short. I feel like The Big Short was a huge bundle of information being tossed at you, and you really had to stay with it. It didn't dumb anything down, and it was difficult, but you at the end understood what caused the crash.
I felt like the Adam McKay did a great job with depicting the rise of Dick Cheney, and then
the rise of Dick,
and the fall, and then like him as like
the deflation,
as what is depicted as like the monster of Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
So, and I thought that was a nice level of like a roller coaster of emotions to follow, because at first they do a good job of making him like a loving father, and him dealing with his daughter, and him not wanting to run for presidency and all that stuff because of his daughter. And you're like, wow, like I'm surprised. I don't know if that's really accurate or not, but in this film, I'm like surprised that they're going that way. To see him go cutthroat at the end, it's like, whoa. So I feel like it was an interesting arc from someone who had some sort of redemption to having like, no, this guy is the worst person ever, and then many people probably didn't know. Again,
so it starts with a redemption, and then it ends with him being the worst human in the world.
Pretty much.
Okay.
Which is not a thing that people do often. And I really thought Adam McKay did a great job with that.
Is it like Thanos, like similar to like the Infinity War Thanos?
No, because Dick Cheney was not right in this film.
It's like Darth Vader. It's like Star Wars Episode 3.
Okay, all right. He does murder children too, so I guess that does make sense. In
the end, he gets the mask on.
I mean, it's such an accurate description because it's just really funny thinking about that. Horrible, man. Okay, so the acting in this film is ridiculous. You have Christian Bale, Amy Adams, Steve Carell, Sam Rockwell, Alison Pill, Eddie Marsan. I mean, literally, this list just is ridiculous.
It's great. It's fantastic.
Realistically, I would say Christian Bale, Amy Adams, and
which, by the way, they're back. They did I forget which movie they did together, which was absolutely terrible. Where he gained a lot of weight for that one too.
Oh, wasn't that the one with the Silver Linings Playbook?
Yes,
American Hustle.
Director,
American Hustle. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So it's basically Christian Bale, Amy Adams, and Steve Carell. I would say is like the main cast, and Sam Rockwell. He's in it, but not very much.
Okay.
But when
he does a great job as Bush, he does a great.
I was like, how did they get George Bush in here? He nails it. He nails it. It's pretty amazing.
Does in the trailer. He looks amazing.
Yeah, the acting I think was top.
So there's no issues with the acting whatsoever.
Not to me, no.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're definitely going to get nominated for an Oscar.
Oh, without that. I mean, Christian Bale goes for that like crazy. He gained weight, which automatically puts him on the top of the list of nominations.
Yeah,
That's
that's one of the Oscar.
one of the Oscar requirements is are you playing a historical character, which he is. At this
It's a
point.
double whammy.
Yeah.
Did he gain weight or lose weight?
Yeah,
he
yeah.
did.
Both,
he did. He
yeah.
didn't die because Dick Cheney's still alive. So
I did hear in an interview that Adam McKay had a heart attack during the making of the film.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
ironic.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the film,
Yeah,
I mean,
there's-
it's
historic.
It's
It's
publicly known
historic.
that Dick Cheney has problems with his heart.
Yeah.
So that's
in
crazy
many
that
ways.
he had a
In
heart
many
attack.
ways.
Yeah, it was an interview with Adam McKay and Christian Bale, and Adam McKay said he had a heart attack during
Okay.
which is pretty crazy.
All right. I'm guessing because technically this is a period piece, although it's hard to imagine that 10 years ago.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
this is now
Well-
a period piece, but we're revisiting the 90s, we're revisiting
Yeah.
the 2000s. How did this movie feel as far as its period in its pre and post 9/11 storytelling?
Believable.
Yeah.
Like it was very accurate.
Oh wow. Okay.
That's why the story itself, I feel like it's a story that someone's telling, and they're using Dick Cheney as the character. Who knows if a lot of it's accurate or not? I didn't go for that aspect of it. I went to follow the story, and I thought the story itself was really well done.
Yeah.
So you less of the story, more of the history, I guess, because
Right.
it's more like history plot point,
Yeah.
historical points rather than like story.
Well, that's
so
what I was going to ask next.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like,
So
like,
it's just like this happened, then this thing happened.
Yeah.
So and they kind of like stringing it together, but in kind of like a it's like do you remember when he met this guy?
Yeah.
Well, guess who's the judge now? You
Oh,
know.
okay.
So it's kind of like that, where they're kind of like tying it all
So
together.
like part of the story is like it's a history lesson as well.
I was going to.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I was going to ask.
So
Yeah,
they
yeah.
go back and they show these moments, and then they go ahead and dive more into it.
Yeah.
And as an audience member, you learn like, okay, well, this person came from here, from meeting Dick Cheney, and this.
Yeah.
I don't want to give too much away because you should go watch this in theaters.
Okay.
He shoots someone in the face.
He does shoot somebody in the
That's
face.
so-
And
Yeah,
the
that's-
person apologizes on TV.
Yeah,
on
that's-
TV.
that is
I remember
crazy.
that. Yeah,
That
I
is
remember that
crazy.
happening.
But there's a great moment as well, which I'm not going to spoil. But halfway through the film, even before the presidency, they basically kind of like they fake you out. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
That's great.
It
'Cause
was great. So
I knew it
there's a
was
misdirect?
There's
a
yeah,
huge
I'm-
misdirect.
I'm gonna ruin
Is
it. I
it
don't
spoiler?
care. Yeah, I don't
Okay,
care. Just spoil
if
it.
it's a spoil, then just give it a heads up.
Who
and spoil it.
cares?
But it was great.
Mike is ruining things.
Should I?
Yeah,
This is
not,
Mike-
not Adam
Mike
ruins
ruins
everything.
everything.
Mike ruins everything.
All right,
Mike ruins movie reviews.
let's not do that.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
but here's
No,
what.
no,
it's-
no, it's a great moment though.
All right, so
Okay.
what I want to know is, does Kanye appear at all in this movie? Because this is during that whole hurricane thing too.
Oh
right?
yeah, no, he does not.
Does not cover
So
any of that stuff.
there's
They don't-
really not much covering of like George Bush. Like Sam Rockwell is not in it very much.
Yeah. So the whole thing of this film is that that while George Bush was in presidency, actually they treat Dick Cheney exactly like Frank from House of Cards, like him manipulating his way to get to the presidency.
Right.
And when he gets to be vice president, he uses George Bush as a pawn to get him to be.
Well, no,
get to
it's
be
a-
the pawn.
It's
where,
in the trailer. It's
Yeah,
it's like
he-
he
yeah,
asks
it's-
for all these things, and you're
yeah.
like, no vice president has ever done that.
Yeah.
So he uses George's presidency as a way that he's really the president, and uses his power for his own use,
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is
like
something
the
that,
mastermind, basically.
which is something
behind
that was
everything.
communicated a lot of the times, even when George W. Bush was president.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, wow, this is a really tricky one because
Yeah.
I'm caught between wanting to watch this and not wanting to watch this. All right, what other things didn't work for you? Last words, because we have a lot of reviews.
Yeah. So just to recap of it, I think the acting is top notch. I just would have preferred more of if they would have just picked one thing and stuck with it in terms of narrative, like whether it was just a biopic or just a documentary. And I guess I can respect his attempt to try to meld it all together, but that's what didn't work for me.
It just felt messy to you.
Yes, for
Okay.
me it did.
Dan?
For me, I feel like if this film was the way that Mike said, this film would have been boring. And I feel because the story itself of the presidency, it's very historical. It's very, and it could get very dense, but they add these little bits of things to sharpen your skills of watching this film and waking you up. That they do such a great job in adding these little farce moments that I feel like it's really worth watching in theaters.
All right. Here's my rating. I'm gonna say it's gonna be a takeout. Only
Sorry,
because I remember watching The Big Short
sorry,
at
Dan.
home, and I needed the internet while watching The Big Short. I needed it so that I could, at the very least, research things. And because as you know, Dan is saying, like, there's a lot of dense information. Adam McKay is a very interesting writer. He knows how to give people information, but sometimes you want to verify. And just like when I watched The Big Short, where I had the computer next to me going like, "Is this real?"
Yeah. You'll be able to follow it,
Yeah.
but it's a kind of movie where you can pause it and come back to.
That's what I mean.
Pretty much.
So sorry, Dan. No,
You're not sorry.
I'm not sorry.
Sorry, not sorry.
So I will throw the
No,
hosting
I don't want it. I'll give it to Mike now. He won. He's the host.
All right, the hosting. Why is it going to Mike?
Because he won.
Didn't we just agree that Mike's terrible at hosting?
Yes, we did.
let's do it.
I'm just kidding. I'll take it back.
Okay.
All right, so let's go on to the next movie review.
Yes. Yeah.
So the next film we are reviewing is Roma, written and directed by Alfonso Cuarón. Here's the plot. This film, the story that chronicles a year in the life of a middle-class family's maid in Mexico City in the early 1970s. It stars Yalitza Aparicio, Marina Travilla, Diego Cortina Autry. All right, guys, have everyone seen this film? Obviously, we didn't do my research before, and I didn't ask you guys which films you guys saw. And
Keeping it
didn't see.
fresh.
Keeping it fresh in your
And live.
Yeah.
So, yes, we don't talk about the films until we see each other.
We won't even talk about what movies we were going to review.
We just randomly show up like, which movies did you see this week?
Sometimes we kind of like go like, wait, nobody what? Ah, damn it!
Yeah.
I thought we all agreed on this.
I was like, I thought you guys were going to see it, and I wasn't going to see it. No.
No,
So,
we've all watched this.
okay, everyone saw Roma? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we shall decide if this movie is worth a dining watching in theaters, take out way to watch at home, or leftovers.
Get stand with on one foot with your eyes closed.
There you go.
You think it's easy?
Or
Try
or continuously to step on
Since
dog
I-
shit
Oh,
the
yes.
rest of your life.
Yeah, that works.
Just for
as
the
well.
record, my one critique is the dog shit wasn't real enough in this movie. I could tell it wasn't real.
On that note, rate this film Z.
Yeah, so this movie is in fact on Netflix. I don't think we added this. It is on Netflix. So when we're rating this, we're going to be talking about it as a dine-in. You have to watch it right now.
You can watch it months from now.
Yeah, well, you can take your time with it. And I'm going to say this: it is a dine-in. However, this is not a movie for those who are very easily discouraged by films. This is a film that is really classic in its storytelling, which means it takes a while for it to start. And with that being said, this movie, once it does get going, it builds up steam. When it gets the final act, it destroys you emotionally. And I was crying. I was in tears. And I realized that by the end of it, I was just in the presence of somebody who I just wanted to like hug and tell them everything was going to be okay. And what I love about this movie is how well it depicts two strong women. And so yeah, this is dine-in all the way.
Mike?
Yeah, I agree. It was a dine-in for me as well. Also mentioning that this is definitely, I guess, could you call this an art house film?
It's an art house film. It's a foreign film, so you can definitely describe it in multiple ways.
So keeping that in mind, if you watch it, it definitely is a much slower pace, but and everything that happens it feels like real life.
It does,
and it feels like, and I think that's the power of. Okay, we are back. I think that is the power of this film, is that you. In the time that you spend with these characters, you start to get to know them as real people and what's happening, and because of that, you start to develop a strong bond with these characters, and I did, and by the end of it, is very impactful with what happens in their lives. So
Yeah.
and it's a good tribute to domestic workers. So
Yes, I agree. Dan?
It's also a dine-in for me. Now, this is a personal story to Alfonso Cuarón.
Yes.
It's a part of his childhood, growing up in Mexico City. It's like you guys have mentioned, this is a slow burn, but I enjoyed this because it's basically an everyday story.
Yeah.
With not everyday events that happen around that story. So we just follow the maid, Cleo, for about a year.
Yeah.
And just doing her work as a maid, taking care of the children. And it's very mundane stuff that we see going on, but there's extraordinary stuff behind that's going on as well. So this story, I think, if you stick with it, it really pays off by the end.
Yeah, and it's and it's funny because this movie is, Mike, you said a domestic worker. This is a maid, and probably just watching it, an underpaid maid, because she does a lot of work for the family, and so you follow her and you get involved into her narrative. And the very beginning of the story, right, the movie, is just her washing the floor, and you're just watching her do it. And so,
and because it's black and white, like you don't know what
you're watching.
Yeah. And it's for me, I'm like, oh god, is this blood? What is she washing? Which is really like, because you just see the image, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
At least for myself, I was thinking so many things, possibilities, and then you see she's cleaning dog shit.
Yeah.
So it's like, which is like a nice, like, okay, well, this is where we're going. Like,
yeah.
Okay.
And I think like even to the description of the dog shit, I know we keep talking about that. That's pretty much the life that this woman is living, right? Like as much as people in Mexico were trying to clean things up, there were still shit around them. And like even at the very end when you get to see the riots, all of that, all those events which are depicted on there is just an equal depiction of like what Mexican life was during the 1970s. It's basically dog shit. Everything's being cleaned up, but dog shit keeps on piling up. And I just thought, like, even at that, like a simple moment of her trying to wash off the dog shit really depicts to you what life was in Mexico. And more importantly, what I absolutely loved about it was this duplicate, this simultaneous storytelling of these two women. So you have Yalitza's character Cleo, and you have Senora Sofia, who is the woman of the house, and they're both going through the same struggle of dealing with men who they cannot rely on. And that in itself, and how it depicts those two women struggling, and more, and then finally at the very at the very end of the arcs, how they realize that being together, women together, are stronger. And even at that, there's a moment in the movie where everyone's trying to do this martial arts thing where it's like they're standing on one leg and with their eyes closed and trying to balance themselves up, and the only person can do it is Cleo, because clearly she is the strongest person in that whole field of men. She is the strongest person there because she's a woman going through motherhood, and that's the person you really want to focus on. So I thought that the way that Alfonso Cuarón directed it, the way he structured the movie, the way that the film is shot, the cinematography is bonkers. It's absolutely ridiculous how well done it is. And it's like, I wish I watched this movie in a movie theater, because this is the kind of movie you really just want to bask in the glory of just how big the screen could be in front of you, because there's just... And it's fields of dirt that you see. It's Mexico. It's Mexico in the 1970s before the full development and where it's currently at. You get to visit ejidos, which are like these really broken down places. And I would watch this movie in a giant theater, because this is the kind of movie you just want to enjoy witnessing reality.
Yeah, it's very raw in the storytelling.
Very
it doesn't
raw.
Show like it doesn't hide anything.
Yeah.
It's very vulnerable. The characters they give themselves up to for us to watch.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that Alfonso, which is his style, is the long shots.
Yes.
That we stay past where it's uncomfortable to watch, but we should be watching this.
Yeah.
I think it's very effective, especially in this film, following Cleo's story.
Yeah, and this is Alfonso Cuarón. If you don't know, he directed
Children of Men,
which is a beautifully shot film. There are moments in that movie depicting death and birth that you cannot get out of your head. He also directed Gravity, which has a small cameo in this movie. I thought that was really odd, that they're at a theater and you're seeing the little bit of that.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
That's so funny.
And
also Harry Potter.
He also did Harry Potter. He did the best one. He did Harry Potter 3, Prisoner of Azkaban. So you know that this is a director who can use the camera to its best abilities. And I think that we were watching an interview before this. The way that he directed was continuous
continuity.
Yeah. So he shot scene after scene instead of shooting it in different order.
In 110 days.
In 110 days. So that means that, and it makes sense when you think about the lead actress to this movie, Yalitza. Yalitza. Because Yalitza she's not an actress. She is just simply somebody who was going to school and then decided to take this movie on.
Well, the whole thing was that she was studying to become a teacher. She had 8 months to get the results, and her sister made her audition because she was pregnant. Because the sister couldn't audition, and she said, well, I have nothing to do for 8 months. I guess I'll just do this.
Yeah, which makes sense because the way that her story develops just seems natural. And I think we're just saying right now how it just feels like it's raw. It is raw because it's through you're watching an actor who isn't an actor portray a character that seems more real than anything you've seen before. There's no bells, there's no whistles. It's just a regular house worker who is cleaning dog shit. And that's what you're watching. You're watching somebody struggle through their life. And even at that, like there are moments in which, when she gets pregnant and she goes to Sophia and Sophia goes, idiota. She calls her an idiot. And you're just kind of like, oh, yeah, that's a Mexican life right there. That's exactly how it is, where you get teased by your parents, even though you want to feel comfort. It's just a beautifully told story, and I think Yalitza's acting is spot on.
Yeah, very much agreed. What did you guys think regarding it being black and white? Did that help the film? Could it have been in color?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I wondered what this movie would have been like in color, especially just with because you have so many long shots of like the landscape, and they stay with it. Yeah. And I think that the black and white kind of makes it more it gives it more of like a timeless feel. Like even in the beginning, it wasn't clear to me like when the film even took place until they explained.
There is a moment,
where I was like, I don't even know if this is like modern times or if this is in the past or what's happening. But at some point they say exactly the exact year, and it's like, oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Which they say is basically it takes place 1970 to 1971. Yeah. But anyways, I just wonder how experiencing this film in color would have been.
I feel like I remember taking a world history cinema class, and they showed cinema from Mexico during the times. During like the 1900s, 1920s till the 1950s, and a lot of the films that they were shooting and that they had during that time were all in black and white.
Oh, interesting.
And so I just feel like that was an intentional recreation of the style. Got it. This film also just really felt very Italian in its storytelling as well.
I agree. Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, because of the pacing, or?
The pacing, even at that, like just the type of relationships that you see on screen. Like there's a moment in which, and this is for those who are faint at heart, in which you see a man naked doing martial arts. That just felt very much like I was watching Italian cinema. I was like, this is not something you watch in American cinema. This is something you watch somewhere else. And it was necessary to watch because at the very end, well, first you see the man naked, and then at the very end of the movie, he is truly naked in what he reveals who he is. And I thought that was very important. So I think seeing it in black and white just gives you much more of a clear depiction of how difficult it was during those times. And because a lot of the TV during that time was black and white anyways, it just really fits the genre really well. It just kind of like fits into there. I would not have wanted to watch it in color. I was more than happy because if it was in color, then I feel like a lot of the black and white, like I feel like they would need to light a lot of things, but because it's in black and white, you really see the contrast really well, and I really enjoy that.
Yeah. Now, what did you guys think about the dialogue in this film that Alfonso wrote? Because a lot of it's quiet moments, and then there's dialogue that seems very realistic.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
What did you guys think about that?
It just felt very real. It felt like it just feels like you're hanging out with this family for months. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It feels like you really get to spend your time with them and get to know them as people. And there's no melodramatic plot line like pulling you in any direction. You're hanging out with these people and it's almost like in those awkward silent moments you get to appreciate the subtleties of all the characters.
And I know this because I'm reading. I read a page of his description. Alfonso Cuarón was the only one with the script.
Oh, interesting.
And so when the day came, he would give the scripts to people, and then he would give them contradicting instructions. And he wrote. He said this in the interview. He said that's exactly what life is like. It's chaotic, and you can't really plan how you'll react to a given situation. So it was intentional for him to kind of give misdirection, to give that awkward silence, and give that sort of like realism of the storytelling and the way that they're acting. Because you really kind of don't know where things are going. There's also a different. It's not Spanish. It's a different dialogue in this story too. So there's an addition to that where you're just kind of like, oh, this is not Spanish. That's not Spanish. I know Spanish. That's not Spanish.
Oh, yeah. Where was it like in native language?
Yeah,
or?
It was. Yeah. So I think the lead actress is from Oaxaca. I think that's right. Mm-hmm. So I think they were speaking in that language of the ejidos, and so it was very like interesting to just simply like be like, oh, okay. Even as somebody who is Mexican, I had to take myself out of like the comfort of knowing the language and had to like really read the subtitles to kind of get some of it. So I thought that the dialogue. What did you think, Dan? Like, did you feel like the dialogue just felt natural to you?
Yeah, I think it was great the fact that because the last films Alfonso, that we've released listed for him have all been in English. He hasn't done a film in Spanish in a very long time. Yeah. So it was nice for him to go back to his roots and write something more natural and with something to say. And I really enjoyed how this could have easily if it wasn't the backdrop of Mexico and the story that was following, it could have been set anywhere, but I'm glad that he put it with Mexico, with the backdrop of what happened with the riots and the violence, and using this woman's story to tell a bigger story as well. But also what I really enjoyed was like we mentioned, the continuity of it being filmed. There are some shots that only one take. That he mentioned in the interview. A lot of one takes. How would you have thought about this film? Because he said that if he didn't get the shots, it would have been a different ending. So
that's interesting.
Can you imagine a different type of ending for this film, or do you feel like this was the perfect ending for it?
Go ahead.
And I have one more final question after that, and then we're going to move on to the next one.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was a perfect ending for the film, especially just.
Is there anything else that you felt like that was missing that you wish they would have covered without giving too much away?
Yeah, I felt like it was closure to what the story was in terms of what the place that a maid could take in a family home as basically as another family member, and as Z mentioned before, it's just not only with women relying on each other, but just kind of like family, and how family isn't always blood related. It's also just the bonds of the people that you're with daily. Yeah. And I thought it was nice closure, and also in terms of the perspective of the kids towards the maid as well, of how they felt about her. Yeah. So I think without giving too much away.
Yeah, without giving too much away either. There is growth. There is movement in the characters' arcs, but in the very end, nothing really changes. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's important because we all think that life are these moments of high arcs where things happen and then life is never the same. Right? The Harry Potter line, "Nothing will ever be the same after this," which is in Cuarón's Harry Potter. But like the truth of the matter is, things change, people develop. And then people go back to being who they are. And there is small growth, and you see that at the very end. And I think that regardless of him not getting the shots, I think this movie would have still been the same because I think he had already in mind where it was going to end. And I think you see that at the very end where you see the family and you see everything happening and there is growth, but there is very minimal movement.
I agree completely.
Yeah, I feel like the most powerful scene, and I think that would have been captured no matter what, was the hospital scene. Without giving too much away. I feel I feel like that's the true arc of the film.
We can't even talk about it because I will start crying because
Yeah.
that's where I really lost it.
Yeah, but I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. Actually, we're running out of time, so I'm going to move on to the next film.
Yes.
So we all say dine in. We watched Roma ASAP. It's a really great film. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie review. Movie menu. And the next movie we're reviewing is Birdbox, also on Netflix.
Yes.
This is directed by Suzanne Bier. It's based on a novel by Josh Mellon and written by Eric Heiser.
Nailed it.
One more.
Hi, sister. 5 years after an ominous, unseen presence. Ominous.
5 years.
Ominous.
Yeah.
Unseen presence drives most of society to suicide. A mother and her 2 children make a desperate bid to reach safety. It stars Sandra Bullock, Trevante Rhodes, John Malkovich, and Sarah Paulson for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we have all seen this film. So we'll do our best to do a spoiler-free review.
Yes.
And if dine in, watch it in theaters, or watch it at home right away, Netflix.
Yep.
Take out, wait, and take your time to watch this. There's no rush. Who cares if there's spoilers down the line? So you don't need to watch this right away.
Yep.
Leftovers, look at your TV and go insane. And
take the blindfold off.
Take the blindfold off. I like that.
Take the blindfold off.
Mike, rate this film.
I'm going to say a dine-in for me.
Interesting.
Dine-in.
Yeah.
Z?
I am going to go with a takeout.
Okay.
A solid takeout, like as in like highly close to a dine-in. But I think it's a dine-in mainly because I think it has infiltrated the zeitgeist of culture. There's so many memes, and you kind of need to see it just to understand what people are talking about.
That's one of the reasons why.
But I would say that personally, there are better horror films out there.
I agree with you that there are better horror films out there, but that doesn't take away that this is still.
Oh yeah, it's a solid movie. Yeah,
thanks. Can I give it a review?
So we're done, right?
So we're done. Yeah. Well, Dan wanted to cut this short, so let's get going.
So we're into the next review.
Let's do the next one.
Fuck you guys. So it's a dine-in, a soft dine-in, but a dine-in nonetheless.
Right.
I agree with Dan. You can watch the other films first, but this should still be watched.
Yeah. I was in the middle of my review, Mike, and you interrupted. No, I was kidding.
I'm sorry.
Well,
it's a dine-in.
Yeah.
I feel like this film is. I think it brought back justice that The Happening didn't do.
Yes, I agree with you.
Interesting.
So
good,
it's like
good,
the premise.
comparison.
The premise was brought back because I loved the premise originally of what I thought would have been the Happening. I thought that was a cool concept. It just was not executed right. I felt that it was executed better in this film.
Yeah.
Was it perfect? No. But I still felt like they did a way better job than, there was no one talking to fake plants.
Yes.
Why are you doing this? I just don't understand why you're. No, I'm just doing Mark Wahlberg talking to a plant.
And it didn't pick and choose who to die at a convenience,
Yeah.
No.
Who to kill,
it was a very good,
and solid performances actually.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the performances. I think they got a lot of great actors actually to kind of just jump in there. Even though the secondary characters I thought were really fantastic.
Of course, John Malkovich plays an asshole.
Malkovich. I mean, Malkovich just does a great job. But yes, this movie, when I first saw the trailer, I thought the poster, my first thought was A Quiet Place. Oh, this is a ripoff of The Quiet Place. And it's not. It's nowhere near that good. And that's what I mean. If there are movies that you need to watch, horror movies that follow similar tropes, this movie it looks like A Quiet Place, but Quiet Place is the one you really want to watch.
Well, the thing is, I feel like the concept for the Bird Box is scarier than A Quiet Place, but the execution that The Quiet Place is scarier.
Yes, but what this movie reminds me more of, and I think I didn't think about The Happening because nobody thinks about The Happening, but this movie reminds me a lot more of of The Mist, Stephen King's The Mist.
Well,
yeah, it does feel like a Stephen King film.
Yeah.
And
Except I hate The Mist, but go on.
Oh, I love The Mist.
I hate The Mist.
Except that it is like a nicely.
This is a nice Mist.
No. This is like
This is like The Fog.
It's not a 4-hour Stephen King film.
Was that a 4-hour movie?
It always feels like it's way longer than it
yeah.
has to be.
Yeah.
So,
but what for me is the terror for both films of The Quiet Place and this film is the children. Raising kids in this atmosphere is the most terrifying.
Well, being
thing.
pregnant in this atmosphere is very scary.
Well, yes, that.
Yeah,
so which is a through line, which I don't think is a spoiler, hopefully, for both films, A Quiet Place and this film, which I feel like they tackled really well.
Totally.
Moving forward with that. But Quiet Place does do it better towards the horror. But this film, I feel, just the fact that you can use your one of your senses, is this really, really scary.
Yeah.
But I'm like, how can... And I like the fact that even though she's blindfolded, she falls a lot. Because I was like, if she doesn't fall, then this is bullshit.
Yeah.
But she does fall a lot. So.
Which is crazy. Why wouldn't it be crawling the entire time?
yeah, that's a good point.
I'm just saying, like, if you knew you couldn't, like, anyways, not the point. But yes, I think that the underlying issues with this movie is that, one, it follows all the classic tropes of a horror movie, of a monster horror movie, because there is always a guy who knows more than he should, and I thought that moment in which that one actor starts explaining the whole plot just kind of like stopped the movie completely. And it's actually an actor who comes out in Get Out. I forget the actor's name, but he does the whole explanation. And
he's the one from the cops, right?
Yeah,
and security guard or something.
Yeah, Rel Howery is his actor.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so it has that. It also has the, like, all right, you have people in a house, but you need to get them out in some way. So how do you get them out? Well, you introduce a secondary bad guy. I think because of those issues, that's why for me it was like, all right, this is good. This is solid. I'm getting freaked out, but this is just following the script of like what you should do in a monster horror film. And I just felt like that was predictable. And I thought there was like imminent threat, absolutely. But I honestly, I kind of felt like you knew that the actors were going to, this movie was predictable. Is my issue.
Yeah, I get it, and it kind of gives away like who's gonna survive, like from the beginning.
Totally.
It's like, oh, well, they're not there.
Yeah.
well, that's the storytelling of it.
That's
yeah. Which I don't mind.
Which
I
is
enjoyed
like
it.
it's non-linear. So it starts off the kind of like towards the end of the film. When it starts, and then you see how they ended up there.
Yeah.
So it's like a timeline which you finally meet in the middle, and then it continues the story from there.
Right.
Which I thought was kind of effective.
Yeah.
I mean, I like storylines like that because I kind of like to see. I don't like to just see origin films of that. I like to see where they've gone and how they've grown.
Yeah, it kind of poses a question and then it answers it for you.
Yeah,
right.
And there's no like legit explanations. Like there's no somebody explaining the zombie apocalypse. None of that. Yeah. I mean, the one character does explain what is happening, but it's not like he knows what the hell's going on.
Yeah, he doesn't know for a fact. He's just saying like, oh, this is this.
It could be this. It could be that. Yeah.
I also enjoyed the fact that we never see the creatures.
That's again my issue is that you get the big bad and then you get the secondary bads. I like that because that's a very Doctor Who way of explaining a monster. You don't get to see the monster, but then it does it with the other people, which I think we just need to talk about.
Well, we'll get there, but what I'm talking about is the creatures themselves.
That's another issue that I have
because as the story goes, if you see them, you go mad.
Yeah, and you commit suicide. I think that's a key factor.
Yeah,
I mean, that's really
suicide.
scary. You see something that reminds you of your past, and you want to kill yourself. That is frightening. That is really scary.
So, I thought that was cool for us as an audience member not to see that because then why wouldn't we go mad if we see that?
And you see actually
we don't know what you see. You see something. Like one person says mommy,
you see drawings.
Oh, you do get to see drawings. That's true.
Which is kind of cool character.
All the drawings are different though.
They're all
not
different.
the same.
That's true.
So it's like
it's a depiction of each individual who sees
right.
a thing. Yeah.
So it's like not a one focused creature like in A Quiet Place we see the creature and we see how it is. So it's all the same.
It's kind of like Babadook-ish. right?
Ish. I would say ish, but yeah, okay. But then the other part that, and I talked to you guys a little bit off camera about this. My other issue is the secondary bad characters that get introduced to this, because then you have this introduction of like, all right, so how do you get people out of the house? Where you introduce another threat, and there are these people who are. Now, instead of going insane and killing themselves, they are trying to expose individuals to the light.
Yeah, they're trying to get people to take the blindfolds
off. To see what they see, and you know, they'll kill themselves or they'll become part of them. But the way that they explained it in this movie was that the only way you can do that is if you have a mental illness. And I thought that was the issue that I really was like, I had to draw the line and go, I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
But that's an issue that I have. Are you saying that people with mental illness are different in some way? Because if that's the case, then I don't know what the percentage is, but a huge percentage of the world of people have mental illness. And where do you draw the line? Is it only depression? Is it anxiety? Is it psychosis? What are you talking about? And I just felt like that was a bit of an insult. I was very taken aback by that. I was like, okay, so you have to be crazy in order for you not to kill yourself. Okay, no, you've lost me there. And I just felt like because of that introduction of a bad guy, that's what took it from like a dine in, I'm totally buying it, to a takeout, because immediately as they introduced that, it just seemed way too convenient in a time in which politics is clearly stating that if you have a mental illness, you tend to go shoot up schools. And that was my biggest issue, where I was like, gotcha. I'm sorry, but now you're making it about that. I don't care anymore.
I don't think, I mean, the way that I saw it, and we work in a similar field.
We do.
So the way I saw it was that they weren't the villains in their eyes. They are trying to be the good guys. And I felt like that
they were like prophets.
It was misinterpretation or miscommunication between the two. But I liked the fact that they were immune to this. But it could have been explained differently. It didn't have to be people with mental illness. It could have been anything. It could have been people who men. Well, no, because like they see the world in a different light. So for that to be seen, I thought it was. Well, I mean, I can see where it's very insensitive, but I don't feel like the fact that they were going in that direction. That's not the purpose of this film, was to offend anyone with mental illness. Well, that's the problem, is that they're never trying to offend. It just happens because they didn't have anybody on staff who would have said something like, actually, that could be kind of insulting. That's the issue. Would you have preferred just like no explanation? Yeah, totally. That's way scarier. I think it could have worked as well. Yeah, and I think that would have been kind of cool to see, like with some of the side characters, where that's not a plot twist, where it's just that's what happens to a side character. Yeah. Instead of killing themselves, they try to expose everybody else. That would have been way more creepier if they would have said, "Oh, it's people who have committed, or like, just who knows, people who have committed murder." Then those people, and then all of a sudden you find out there's a murderer in the house. That's way creepier, like things like that. But the fact that it just went ahead and just said people with mental illness. That's the people who are. That was my biggest gripe with the movie. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna have to move on. Yes. So any comments? No. Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna go and move on to the next film, but we are gonna rate this dine-in. 2 against 1. Sure. No, I'm willing to accept that. That's fine. But again, you need to understand those memes. See, you do need to understand the memes. I agree. And there's some really funny memes out there. Okay, let's move on to our final review. 2018. Yeah. So the final film we're reviewing is actually a very long special episode. Black Mirror, Bandersnatch. It is directed by David Slade, written by Charlie Brooker. Here's the plot. A young programmer makes a fantasy novel into a game for a big company, trying to keep his mind into making it right. His own reality becomes weirdly disoriented. It stars Flann Whitehead, Craig Parkinson, Alice Lowe, and Will Poulter. All right, guys, so depending on your review, we shall decide this movie is worth a dine-in. Watch it right away, take out, wait, and not to watch it right away. Our leftovers get so far down the rabbit hole of this build your own adventure, which you did, in fact, and never see reality again. how many times did you get? Okay, so this will not be a spoiler for you. Actually, this would be spoilers.
Yes.
Because you can't really talk about this film without spoiling it a lot because there's so many.
Because
there's not so many different outcomes, but there's like stuff to talk about.
Yeah, you can actually end this movie at the 20-minute mark, and I did, in fact. And I lost.
I kind of ended it like at the 5-minute mark. Honestly,
Did you really? What did you choose?
Well, I think I've won. So you have to redo it again. So every time you pick something,
yes,
it takes you to a new path, and that's how they explain it in the film, which is great. And it's very
meta.
This is a
choose your own adventure.
Yeah, choose your own adventure.
So you choose a path for the character to go in, and then that path leads to an ending and or a continuation of the story that there is no predictability. This movie actually has a runtime, I believe, of 5 hours.
Wow. It's 312 minutes that they filmed.
There you go. And it will state on Netflix that it's a 90-minute movie, but in fact it's not. You can easily go down the rabbit hole quite deep. And so because of that reason, anything you say in this review will become spoilers. So you should really not be watching this unless you just want to go into it. In which case, welcome to the rabbit hole. we have entered.
So, how many times have you guys seen this?
Are we going to rate it? Did we rate it already?
Yes.
Yeah, let's rate it.
Let's rate it.
Okay. Yeah, Mike.
Dine in all the way. I would say dine in above everything else so far.
Really?
So, for me, yeah.
Everything.
Okay. Yeah, above everything. Yeah.
I think I would say I think there's no real way of this is not a movie, this is a video game.
Yeah.
So what I would say is dine in because it is quite video game.
It's an experience. Yeah.
Dine in for sure. This is a lot of fun and definitely recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this movie, I took multi-variable paths in this story, and I think the one thing that I found really interesting was that you can actually end the game in about 5 minutes. So, Mike, what was your first choice in the story?
My first choice was.
Did you accept or refuse?
It was the sugar puff.
There's.
It's not the Frosted Flakes. It was the
other one. I went with the other one too because I was like, that I've never seen that before.
I was like, me neither.
Go with that.
I remember the Frosties. With the Frosted Flakes.
Yeah.
So that was my first choice.
Which apparently
that was just to get you in the mechanics of using.
Which you end up seeing a commercial later. I'm wondering if you would have chose the other cereal box if you would have seen a different
commercial. You did. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you absolutely did.
Okay.
And then the next choice was music to listen to on the
bus
over.
Yeah. Thompson Twins or Now Too, which is basically the Rhythmics.
Oh,
yeah, which is what I picked. I picked the latter one.
The Now Too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The first time I did it, so I've seen it 2.5 times.
Yeah. Because you had to end, right?
Yeah. So I had to end it because we had to come to this review.
Yeah.
But as you said, right, like you can easily go down the rabbit hole with this one.
Yeah.
Yes. So when they go to the company, what did you guys pick?
Oh, I picked accept and I failed.
Yeah, me too. I think we all did.
I think that was intentional.
That was intentional.
Yeah. Just to kind of lead you down the wrong path.
Yeah. It's like, well, too bad you lost.
Well, because it just felt like the natural. I was like, do I play as a character or as the audience? I wasn't really sure as how to do it. So
which is a fun social experiment because after the way I started the film is I put myself in the shoes of the person that we're following.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, I'm like, I'm just gonna do horrible things. I don't care.
Kill everybody.
Now, I don't want to jump ahead, but how many did you guys choose? Who is talking to this person? And it said Netflix or the fork. Yeah, I chose Netflix.
Yeah,
I went down that rabbit path because I was like, this is ridiculous. Like Netflix, explain more.
How many times?
That was great.
But how many times though? Because when you do Netflix,
for me it was several times before I finally chose it. At some point, I didn't have any other choice.
Yeah, I did get this.
But there's two endings.
There are two endings
in the Netflix one.
Yeah.
Oh, there are.
Yeah.
Interesting.
There's there's the one where you fight her.
Yes.
And then you get taken out.
And you get jump out the window.
Yeah.
And then leap out the window. And if you leap out the window, they cut. And it's like, what are you doing? This is a film. Like Netflix is there.
The actor is there, and the actor's like, "What are you doing? You shouldn't be jumping out the window." And so it's a
the window doesn't
crew.
open. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, and they call him Mike. Mike, his name, his actual
So it
name.
gets even more surreal.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's like, wait, no, my name is Stefan.
Yeah.
They're like, what? Someone get a medic up here, please.
Yeah.
Like, we're breaking for lunch or something.
That's funny. That's great.
And then it resets itself, and you have to do it over again.
Yeah.
So when it resets itself, then what happens?
Then you have to pick the fork. The fork.
Yeah.
Only the fork. Only.
Fork or packs.
Yeah. Yes.
Fork or packs?
Yeah. Did you get that?
I don't think you got to that. No. It's not fork or packs.
The fork. Or, yeah. No, Dan's right. The PACS.
PACS.
And where he? Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's very weird, and I don't think I got the right ending, but
wait. Okay, so let's talk about the ending that everyone got.
Yeah,
sure.
So the 2 times I saw it, where I actually got the ending, I got the same ending.
Which one did you get?
Which was locked up in the prison.
Yeah, I think that's the ending it should be. Yeah.
2.5 stars.
I did do that one. 2.5. There is a 5-star one.
There is a 5-star one
where you murder the dad. So
instead of burying him, you dismember
him, and you have the head on your like on top of like the dresser.
That's pretty hard.
But they also would say that you could kill Kitty, which is Will Poulter's wife, and then there's a post-credit scene, which I didn't check.
There's a post-credit scene?
Yeah, of the daughter grown up.
Yes, I heard about this.
And she's recreating Bandersnatch.
And she also goes mad.
And she also goes mad.
Interesting.
Yeah. This is like a surreal experience. I think there was a point where he starts screaming up and he's like, "Do you want to choose Netflix?" And I was like, I now feel very odd playing this. I now feel very unusual.
Well, I know. I love the fact that in the story that he is talking about these urges that he doesn't understand why he's doing this. It's very meta, and you're as someone watching, you're like, oh shit, he is aware.
Yeah, it's super cool. It's like, I don't know, I don't understand it, but it's like small things, like touching my ear. Why?
Oh, did you do touching earlobe or?
Yeah, I did.
Or biting nails?
I did both. Both of them, he stopped.
He stopped himself. That's what I figured.
Okay.
Yeah, I figured that would be the case.
The same. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same recreation. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, then you did you guys get to the acid trip?
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you take the acid?
I took the acid willingly. I guess like
the first time I did, and the second time I didn't. But he spikes your tea.
There you go. He does that. Yeah. That's what I heard.
So
did any of you guys jump off?
Yes, that was my first thing I did. I jumped off.
The first one, I made Colin jump. The second time, I jumped off.
Oh,
but you just wake up in the bed.
Oh, okay.
No, in the car. So you go back to. You go back to
where you get to choose either
going
to
follow him or not,
or the psychologist.
Yeah.
Speaking to the therapist. I mean,
yeah, it was crazy. And then there was a moment where you can actually travel back in time.
Hold on, real quick.
Oh, okay.
In that moment, though, did you originally follow Colin, or did you go inside the psychiatrist?
I went inside.
In that first initial choice, I followed Colin.
Okay, I followed Colin my first initial one too, but then the second time I did it, when you go see the psychiatrist, she prescribes medication.
Yes.
If you choose to take it, it ends there.
Yes, it does. I did do that.
And it gives you 0 stars.
Yep.
The game is boring.
Yep.
There was nothing going on, blah, blah. And it's because the madness was cured, so the game is now essentially boring.
Yeah.
So,
but if you choose not to take it...
Yeah, you can flush them down. Then you go even further down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's right.
And then from there...
But the cool thing is about that. So that happened. I went to Will, follow Colin, and then after that, you go see the psychiatrist again. So it was my second time seeing the psychiatrist. Mm-hmm. And you were very meta because like, we talked about this already. Like, I told you this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I do love that.
Cool.
Yeah. Because I think in the initial one, if you choose to accept and then it resets itself, you go back and people know the answers that you had chosen previously.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so they're like, well, we've met, right? And they're like,
oh, yeah,
no.
yeah. You're talking about with Colin.
With Colin. So there are moments in which,
right?
where like, because you're redoing it again, people remember you've done it. And so it's really unusual. But yeah, I think once you don't take the pill, you then, it's you choose to read a book or choose to pick up a picture.
Yeah.
And if you choose the book, then that leads you to the computer, the room with the dad.
Both of them does.
Yeah, both of them does. And if you choose, I think, toy, you open a drawer, and that drawer leads you into the past.
Yeah, I did that as well.
And then you can choose in the past whether or not you want to
ride the train with your
mom
and
or
die, which is what I did.
So what happened?
I did that
died.
too. So yeah, you died in the past,
and you died in the present,
and you die in the present,
which is killer.
How do you die in the present?
You just fall asleep.
Yeah, and you're just
like, in front of the therapist. You fall asleep and you die.
Wow. Yeah, in the session you die.
That's interesting.
So then it resets itself.
Yeah. And it's
super cool.
And you go back and you choose PAX instead, and PAX gives you a completely different
answer. Is that the PAX?
PACS. Yeah. The password.
PACS. Yeah. So at some point in the story, I had two choices, which were PACS or PAX.
Damn it! PAX is the
demon.
The demon. Yeah.
So I wanted to go back to pick that one. Did you do it?
No, I never got it.
Wait,
I never got PAX.
I got it once.
I got it.
So
I got the monster.
Did you? You did,
and it resets itself.
Oh, it just
so you go back to the bed. You wake up. You're like, oh shit, that was weird.
There's a monster in the drawer or something.
No, the monster is behind you. Yeah.
Oh, and he just goes like, yeah.
And
you wake up.
Okay,
okay.
Yeah, but yeah,
I thought there was more to it. I was like, damn it, that's the one I needed.
Yeah,
but I guess not.
But then once you start going down the rabbit hole even further, right? So you stop taking medication. You do PACS, and then from there you get to see him really devolve into like hallucinations. Okay. Because you get to like so then you start thinking that your dad is behind everything, and the therapist and your dad are both in collusion to like manipulate you in some way. Yeah. And that part was even way freakier.
Yeah, Did you call the number?
I did.
Yeah.
I called the first time as well, and then he gives himself away by saying, "I kill you, like I'm gonna kill."
Yeah.
So the second time when I saw it, I didn't give the number.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a busy signal, so he ends up just killing and burying the body. And the dog finds it, which I think happens in the first time, right?
Yes.
Not for me, but keep going.
So you bury the body in the backyard, the dad's body. And but the dog finds it, and that's how it ends, because then you get arrested and you go to jail.
Got you.
Yeah, and then there's also different variations at the end. So ultimately, you end up killing the dad. That's
that's basically the main thing, which is funny because the first time you hear the review of Metalhead, which is the
other previous video
which
game,
is the very first review that you hear, is like, if there's a learning curve, you die a lot and then you have to restart. And it was like, that was just like a fun like introduction to what we're going down the road.
Yeah.
So I just thought these little nuances of this being meta, I thought was really, really brilliant.
There's also a moment in which a dad says, "That dog's gonna be the death of me."
Yeah.
So there's also that mention.
Yeah.
But then like there are also moments in the story. So at the very end, there's also moments in the story in which either Colin or I forget the developer's name comes over and you murder them as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I heard about that too. I read an article.
Yeah. But yeah,
I didn't get there.
I didn't get there either. I just looked up a YouTube video that had all the endings, and I was like, "This is ridiculous." So I would love to see the breakdown. I would personally
the forks, the forks.
But apparently there's like also little Easter eggs to jokefully they said that if you try to follow it like as a book or paper or something, you go mad or crazy to try to do the programming for this. I don't know. I thought it was really, really well done.
And I think it took him 2 years to create this whole thing.
Yeah. I look forward to watching it a few more times.
And I'm glad they did this with Black Mirror, because I feel like that was.
It's the right show.
It's the right show, the right place to do it. And God, Black Mirror is so good.
Yeah.
So if we spoil this for you, we apologize. Or if you really wanted to know what the endings were, you're welcome. Because there's just so much weird stuff in this that people have been talking about how this might be the future of storytelling.
Yeah,
now, I don't know about in movie theaters. I don't think so. Definitely at home. Definitely would be a lot of fun.
That's the interesting thing, is that it. I guess it's not. Yeah, it's because it's not brand new.
No.
That's the interesting thing. But
I read an article that Netflix has been doing this for a while with kids shows.
Oh, interesting.
Really? With kids
shows. So this technology isn't new for. It's the first time they're doing it for, I guess, an adult. Well, not adult film. That sounds but for, now just for kids.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense.
It's like this kind of position or take drugs.
If it did offer that would be really, really crazy. Yeah. But yeah, this was.
Can you imagine this in VR?
I could imagine this in VR. But I think ultimately it's funny because I've been watching again. Right, we talked about what was a previous movie again? Birdbox, and how a lot of memes are happening, and now I've been seeing a lot of memes for this one too. Where it's like you get to choose for like other characters in other TV shows. Like, what do you want to do? So it's kind of funny because like I feel like because it's entering into the zeitgeist, people are now starting to think about like. Oh,
that's true. And Netflix does say like, "Are you still there? Are you still watching?" Like,
it is true.
You pick.
You do pick. Yeah.
I guess Netflix is the leader in this. Now I can picture like Amazon and Hulu trying to do this too.
It'd be very strange. I think that due to the fact that it took so long to make. I don't think people are going to recreate this anytime soon.
Yeah, it's very well done. I definitely recommend experiencing it. Even like it being a spoiler episode, it's not the same as actually experiencing it.
No, I think so too, yeah.
In the same way as like hearing someone talk about a video game isn't the same as playing it.
Right,
so,
right. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Just go do it and try your best to like get through to the ending.
Yeah, super fun.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, so that's all our reviews. For this one, we all unanimously agree that it's a dine-in.
Dine-in, man.
Dine-in?
Have fun.
Yeah, enjoy.
While you're at it, watch the other episodes of Black Mirror, because there are also a lot of Easter eggs. There's a lot of Easter eggs from the other TV show episodes in this. I mean, Metalhead is definitely one. Skydive is another episode. Yeah. So there's like a lot of
also Meta. The nosedive game is a foreshadow. Well, no, it's a foreshadowing.
And a foreshadow too. Yeah.
So that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so that would do it for us here. We have some people joining us now. Hi, Heather, and hi, JJ.
Hey.
Hi.
So thank you guys for watching. Thank you so much, Z.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, Dan.
So that would do it for us here at Movie Menu Podcast. We'll be back with a final episode next week. It'll be our year-end review of the past films of this season, our top picks, our worst picks, and our most anticipated for next season. So we'll stay tuned for that. Make sure to follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, YouTube channel. You can find that all on our website, moviemenupodcast.com. Make sure to subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, or wherever you find your podcasts. We are there. Thank you guys. Until next time, goodbye.
2, 3, later. 4. Movie